Hey everybody, Jeremy from Follow Me Leadership, and wanted to address a concern today about managers that are worried about their employees that dress too provocatively and they don't know how to address it. They're worried about potentially being sued for harassment if they go after somebody for whatever it is they're wearing. Um, First, I think you got to look at, does your company or corporation have a policy about workplace attire? The bigger the company, more likely they do. If you have a pretty robust HR department, they've probably implemented some sort of policy. And when that person was hired, did they get that policy? Again, the bigger the company, most likely they did. They signed off on it. If you're a smaller office environment, maybe something like that slipped by. Secondly, is this something that you are uncomfortable with, or is it a common knowledge of this attire making everyone uncomfortable? I think there's a big difference, and you really need to analyze that first before you can go much further. Thirdly, why are you worried about it? Is it something that you're uncomfortable with? Or is it something that you've had complaints and maybe it's making an uncomfortable work environment for others around them? Or is it simply hurting the company image? Or do you just not like it? You really got to kind of think about all those things before you can figure out how best to address it. To me, the most important thing is you got to identify was this person initially given direction and counsel on what's appropriate for your company, your business. But let's just assume, for the sake of discussion, that nothing has ever been said. This is brand new environment. Okay, now we can deal with that. So how do we change it? I think first you want to be general and speak publicly about maybe policies that exist. Sometimes it's simple as, if you're in a bigger company, have your HR department just kind of issue out a random email reminding people of the workplace attire. Maybe you do that on a monthly basis and just constantly posting that, or you print it out and post it somewhere. It kind of is a bit of a CYA thing. That at least gives you the ability to feel comfortable that you've already addressed it generally and publicly, and you can, you're not worried about being sued because you singled somebody out or whatever. But I just take those baby steps first. So if the policies don't exist, let's say, then just sit down with your staff at your next staff meeting or conference call or whatever, and just kind of talk generally and vaguely about expectations on appropriate attire. You don't have to make a big deal about it. Just kind of state, hey, here's what we're looking to do, or this is what we expect out of everybody, and just state it. That way everybody's aware, everybody knows what they're supposed to do. And that way, if you have one person or one or two people, let's say, out of a larger group that are your problems in this area, you've at least addressed it to everyone first. And now you can decide, do we start to sit down with people specifically and address it closer? Because let's remember, I don't care what the issue is, from like an HR standpoint, if you have not already had these general discussions or issued out policy statements about conduct and attire and whatever it is with your company, you can't start right off the bat just going after one person, singling them out and lecturing them, because now I think you're putting yourself in a bad situation to be sued. So do yourself a favor and just get your entire team together and just say, hey folks, this is what I expect. And I think once you do that, once you get everybody together, look at it as, for you, that you're starting fresh. Everybody's got a clean slate, and forget about what's been going on the last few months. Start this new initiative, if you will, today, and go from there. Big thing is, I just can't emphasize enough, you got to make sure this isn't about you. If it's something that you just don't like the way somebody's dressing, well, if you're the owner of the company, fine. You need to take a stand but you still got to come up with some sort of policy. If it's, you're part of a larger corporation, well, you need to work off of whatever your company's policies are. And if you still feel that, somebody's dressing a certain way that you don't like, you need to possibly get over yourself, or again, you revert back to talking as a group, things you expect, and when in doubt, reach out to your manager, get their input on it. They might have an easy way for you to solve that. Ultimately, having conversations like this specifically with people is never going to be comfortable. But I think it's, you think about the expectations of who you want your staff to be, the type of person you want them to be. They're representing your company, so you can talk about, how you want them to, present an image, to your customers. If they're just in an office environment, they're not seeing anybody from the outside. You talk about how you want everyone to feel comfortable together. In this day and age, you can't just point at somebody and say, "Hey, I don't like that shirt," or "I don't like those shoes you're wearing, and you got to change that." Or if you don't have the policies up front, you can't just suddenly drop the hammer on all this. So hopefully that helps. It's a tough issue to deal with, but it's one that I think you just need to address appropriately from the very beginning as people are hired in, or if, for employees that have been around for a while, just start a policy, today, but issue everybody a clean slate and just ask for their buy-in. And I think if you go back to your open door policy and sit down and discuss with people reasonably, I think you'll find that it makes life a lot easier. All right, we're all human. Thanks, everybody. Shoot me an email if you have any questions or comments on that. DM me on Instagram, and you can catch all my videos on Facebook, YouTube, and listen to my podcast on Anchor. Take care.